fadeaway with a hand in his face in the air for the win! Yes, sir! Garnett gives Minnesota the win at Target Center!
Towns a rebound, lets it fly, and Karl-Anthony Towns drills it at the buzzer! A catastrophic finish for the Grizzlies!
Welcome to the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast, your home for the best Wolves talk around.
Wiggins spots up there, deep three, he's got it! He scores it at the buzzer to give the Timberwolves the victory!
Welcome in to another Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast, the best Wolves talk around, and my name is Gabe Anderson, and of course I'm joined by Jared Good. Jared, how you doing?
I'm going to have to use the old Chris line, status quo as a Timberwolves fan this week.
Right.
A couple close games, which was nice to see, but still a little frustration.
Yeah, and we'll get into that, but I think we did play better this week. I really thought like things were coming along. I feel like we were maybe another max player away from winning that Indiana game and maybe that Toronto game, but we'll talk about that. Also joined as always by Chris Emerson. Chris, how we doing?
I'm doing great. I think I've turned a corner this season, and I'm in a good space right now.
Okay, good. Some positivity. So first, we got to talk about it. The game. So we're recording this on Friday night. So the Timberwolves game has just ended. Second game this week against the Toronto Raptors. The first one went a little better. So there was some good stuff in this game, though, particularly the third quarter went very well for the Timberwolves. Also, we had that Anthony Edwards dunk that I think will be in posters and in highlight reels for years to come. But let's start with you, Chris. Kind of break down tonight's game, and what did you see out of the team tonight?
Well, what I saw out of both these teams is I think that it's the model that we're going for. Like, everyone wants to talk about how Houston's our model because that's where Rosas is from. And I always look at stuff with the GM and takes, but this Raptors team seems like what we're trying to get is a bunch of hard playing young guys on cheap contracts and then a handful of big stars and mix it together and hope that a small market can make it work. This game, we just, we played hard. They played hard. There's some things I didn't like. It seemed like we were trying, like the first quarter looked sloppy. We couldn't get a good shot. When J-Mac was running the offense for a while, it seemed like he was passing up the easy pass to Naz Reid to kind of almost like make a harder pass to a wing, maybe to show that he can do that. I don't know. But it was sloppy, but our defense was great.
Yeah.
We held up great on D. What more can you ask for on a young team right now is to turn around and just play hard D. Our shots are going to fall. I'm not worried about that.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and what I thought about tonight was, it's just another blown fourth quarter by the Timberwolves. We've seen it so much this year. That's the thing. Like, unless the Wolves have a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter, it never feels safe as a Timberwolves fan. It never feels like we're going to pull it out in the end. But Jared, what did you think of tonight's performance? What were your thoughts?
Like Chris said, I like the defensive effort. Let's not shine away from the Raptors shot 33% from the field in this game and 30% from three,
and still won.
If you get that every game, you're going to win a lot of games. It just didn't happen tonight. I got kind of a fun stat to kick off the podcast, and that is that the Toronto Raptors are now, in their last 15 games, 15-0 when Kyle Lowry misses the game. So that's
I hate Kyle Lowry. Side note.
A lot of people don't like Kyle Lowry, and I'm kind of in that realm as well, but just something I thought I'd talk about to kick off the podcast. Without Kyle Lowry, they're pretty damn good, and even with him, they're also pretty good as well, even though the record might not say so right now.
So, Chris, let's get into that maybe briefly. Why do you not like Kyle Lowry?
So, and this is the same reason, and this is going to be a hot take, why I really tended to dislike Kevin Garnett is because in the end of his career, he kind of Paul Pierce, even Chris Paul, how they do that, like always trying to get a foul call, always like trying to bait it into something stupid, always getting a dirty little play here and there, like that kind of basketball. Like I get it, you get the call and it might be good basketball for team-wise, but I just don't need to watch it. Like I will purposely not watch games with those players because they're just unwatchable for me. So that's why I just don't like watching them.
Okay, it's as simple as that. Were you so if you were the Raptors, let's say back when they had the decision to keep Lowry or DeRozan, would you have kept DeRozan over Lowry? Or
I mean, I think what they needed to do and what they really wanted to do is probably move both of them. And I just don't think that there was a market for Lowry at his contract. I think they only found a market for DeRozan. So that's what they had to do. I don't think they had a choice. Pretty much their GM doesn't make bad decisions. So anything he does, I'm behind.
To see what they had in Fred VanVleet. He was still young at the time and kind of unproven, but an up-and-coming player. And I don't think they're willing to move both of them just because they weren't ready to hand the keys to Fred VanVleet yet.
Mm-hmm.
It was a salary cap thing, though. They are so far over the salary cap. I think Lowry's making like $40 million or $35 million. Like that's the problem. Like I'm not saying he can't play, but just they had to move that money. You know, again, I look at it from money. Here's a Fred VanVleet nugget that I was watching today for Minnesota basketball, like old heads. I guess I can call myself. Khalid El-Amin, I think you guys were probably too young to really remember watching him from Minneapolis North, but he ended up playing for Connecticut. I think won a national championship with them. Came to the Bulls for a couple years. Good player, but he reminds me exactly of Fred VanVleet. It's just, he had that same style. It just was the wrong era for it, I think. But that kid could play out of Minneapolis North.
Okay, yeah. When you said that, I'm Googling him right now. Yeah, like you said, won a national championship, went to North High.
He's unbelievable. Yeah. He was short, kind of stocky point guard like that, and amazing handle, could get anywhere he wanted. He just wasn't like elite size, kind of like a little fat guy, to tell you the truth. Same as VanVleet, and he could just hoop though. Watching him, I mean, he was unbelievable.
I remember the name. I don't remember a whole lot about him, but the name rings a bell. The guy for me growing up that was a big stud was Magruder from Cooper. And ended up playing for the name might not be right, but ended up playing for the U for a while. Could jump out of the gym, super young. He played for Cooper in high school.
Wait. Do you mean Rodney Williams?
Yeah.
Rodney Williams, that's the guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude could get out of the gym. He could jump.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, he could. He definitely had some highlight dunks at Williams Arena. So let's get into it. So let's quickly kind of run through the week in general, and then we can get to some of the other points. So let's quickly move on to, because we want to handle some other stuff like All-Star game and dunk contest. So let's go to the Indiana game. That one felt like a rough one to lose. And something that I took away from the Indiana game, and I think I posted this in the group, you forget how good Sabonis is because he plays in Indiana, and you don't see him on a night-to-night basis, but he's good. And there's something, I don't know, there's something about the Pacers. They don't have the most talent, but they made the playoffs for like the past 5 years. And
they try hard.
Yeah, they play good team basketball. And but man, that Anthony Edwards 3, that was in. Like that
so far.
There's in.
Like in every other scenario that goes in, and I don't think. So here's what I'll ask. Here's what I'll start with you, Jared. What do you think when you have Karl Anthony Towns? What did you think of that play at the end to give the final shot to Anthony Edwards? Were you okay with that, or would you have rather seen Towns shoot that ball?
So right before we ran this play, I posted in the game thread in our group, and I said, I'm really interested to see what Ryan Saunders does here because he's been kind of subpar in end of the game situations. And looking back at it, I mean, we had an entry pass to Towns, and then it got kicked back out, and we got Anthony Edwards in isolation. And we've talked about in the past about Anthony Edwards' isolation scoring is in the 100th percentile. I was kind of fine with it. You know, I kind of wish he would have drove to the basket, but I mean, the shot was right there, and I can't blame the kid. I mean, he's young. And my biggest thing is he hadn't made a 3-pointer prior to that moment in the game. So having him take a 3 there, probably not the best confidence shot in the world, but you're giving the keys to Anthony Edwards, which I like. I mean, he's a young player, and he's excelled in the past 2 to 3 weeks in my eyes. I can't say that for everyone. There's certain situations that he misses close to the rim, which is super frustrating to me. And we've talked about that in the past. But I also think that the play call was okay. You know, we got it into our stud. We got isolation with Edwards, and he had a good look. It just didn't drop. I mean, there's not more you can hang your hand on that one.
Right. And then, Chris, what did you think of that closing play? Were you cool with that or no?
Well, I was. I mean, because it wasn't really the play that they wanted. Ryan said afterwards the plan was to run that pick and roll and have Cat roll up on the guard. I forget who it was, and he did. He rolled up on that guy in the post, and Ant just didn't pass him the ball because he also had, as Cat said afterwards about it, I mean, he had a good matchup up top too. Like him on what was his name? The shot blocker. I can't think of it now.
Miles Turner.
Yeah, him on Miles Turner at the 3-point line isn't a bad matchup. And something I've been seeing a lot of over all these games is, and it speaks to my change in opinion on what I'm watching right now, is Ryan isn't really going for the best play to win all the time or for the game. He's teaching guys in moments, it seems like. So, I mean, giving him the ball in that situation is a teaching moment. And I like to see that because who cares about a win this year? If that shot right there gives us 3 wins 2 years from now, it's worth it.
Right. So what you're saying is you've kind of ridden. I mean, it's easy to do. So you've kind of ridden off this season right now, and you're kind of looking forward towards the future.
Well, kind of. So I think it's not only I've written it off, but I think it's just what's happening because, like in the first quarter of this game, we were down big. We couldn't hit a shot, right? Our starters had sat for 6 minutes. Second quarter starts, you would think you would come back with our starters to give us a boost, right? Because we just couldn't hit a shot. We didn't. We kept the same team out there and just let them struggle through it. And I think right now, they're trying to teach these guys and run like, this is what we're going to do. You're going to have to excel in your role. That's like the mantra of this team is, you know, be great in your role or whatever they keep saying. So I think this year is turning into teaching. And even if I looked at the stats the other day, we said at best we're a 500 team, right? Like if we're healthy this year, then we've all agreed on that, right around 500.
Yeah,
if we go 500 from here on out, we'll have the same win percentage as I think Orlando, who sits 5 right now. They'd be 5 right now in the lottery. So even if we go 500 from here on out, we're still going to have a 30% chance at a top 3 pick, and that's at 500. So like, we're not going anywhere this year.
Right.
So let's teach these guys in their moments, and let them grow. I mean, that's part of the reason why D'Lo probably got this little knee cleanup. Right. I mean, I'm sure he's hurt, but, not a bad time to take it and let Anthony Edwards learn how to run the game, run the ball.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And let's move on to the Anthony Edwards injury because, I mean,
or D'Lo.
Yeah, D'Lo. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, but Yeah, so D'Lo, he came. I forget what game it was, but he came in, hit 2 threes, then they took him out. He didn't look like he was struggling, and then he sat out for a couple games, and then it was announced that he needed knee surgery. Now I'm not totally sure, but this is the same surgery he had in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So are you okay with him getting surgery at this point? I mean, I feel like as much as you want to see Towns and D'Lo together and get it together, I feel like we're a next year team anyway, don't you think, Jared?
Yeah. So, in the past couple of weeks, I've said this team is really incomplete because we haven't seen D'Lo and Cat together as much as we envisioned. And K-Fan actually had a really good stat on this on the radio the other day, and I was listening, and they said that Cat and D'Lo had played 5 games out of a potential what would be now, I believe, 50 together. And that's just kind of what I'm talking about when I say that this team is just so incomplete. We haven't seen it together, and it's frustrating because we've all envisioned, like I said before, D'Lo was not put on this team to play by himself, and Cat was obviously put in a situation to play with his best friend D'Lo. But it just hasn't worked, and they've had injuries, we've had COVID, we've had literally everything that could possibly go wrong for this team when it comes to rotational pieces and starting lineups and our 2 stars. So I think my biggest takeaway from D'Lo missing right now is I love J-Mac. And you guys might agree with me, might disagree with me, but I think this dude has earned a contract, and I don't know if we've extended his contract yet. I know he had a goofy contract where he could only play I think it was 30 plus games up here without being re-signed. But I like J-Mac. I like what he's doing with the second unit. I like his backup role. Mm-hmm. And now I'm also willing to move Rubio still. I know he had a flash in the pan game, but I'm still willing to move him to make the trade piece work. But it's kind of depending on who's willing to buy. I mean, you can only sell if there's buyers.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Chris, your thoughts on kind of the D'Lo injury and what's kind of going on with that?
Well, again, there's so many bad things that have, like Jared said, that have happened to the Wolves this year. But, again, I'm trying to flip this for us. Let's say that none of that happened and we, we're a 10 seed. We maybe had a playoff, a quick playoff exit. At that point, we're drafting middle of the first round, probably a rotational guy. It's just not great for talent-wise. We didn't add a lot to a team that still needs talent. Now that we have D'Lo out, which he had the same surgery in Brooklyn, and he was out 10 weeks, which was 60 games or something like that. So he's out for the season. We're going to have a shot at, a top pick, maybe. I mean, it's a maybe, but I'll take a 40% maybe right now to get another franchise changing talent, maybe. That's a huge advantage. And now we get Edwards to run 2-man game with Cat, to get just tons of reps doing that. That's going to advance him so far in his, ability to maybe be a star. Him handling the ball as much as he's going to just accelerates that. So, I think it's good. D'Lo, I don't know what's going on with him. I don't trust the bad news. I think he's still on board in Minnesota. So I'm just looking at him as a guy who's just going to be an added high-level starter that will come in next year, almost like adding a new piece to a team.
Now, do you think, would you guys be in favor, let's say he has a surgery and is out 4 to 6 weeks or something, and he's ready to come back? Would you be okay with the Wolves, let's say they keep losing so often, would you be okay with the Wolves just saying, hey, let's just shut it down? Let's just end this now?
I'm guessing that he'll be for that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know him personally, but if it's like, hey, will you play off a fairly new surgically cleaned up knee? D'Lo seems like the kind of guy that's like, nah, I'll let you guys run the rest of this out,
Right.
I think that a lot of it has to do with if we fear losing Cat to mental status, to wanting to be traded, like Cat, we can't lose Cat. That's obviously the key number one. And if bringing D'Lo back when we're 20 and 35 does that for him to stay here, I mean, then you got to do it. But I also think that we ain't going anywhere either, like Chris said, and I think we're kind of all on board with that right now, that we're not really going anywhere. So what's the purpose of doing that? Like, let them get healthy, and just see what we have next year. And it sucks to say that because us three, we watch every game, whether we're 8-53 or 8-10. Like we're always there to watch it, but at the end of the day, you got to think about the future at this point, in my opinion.
I wonder. Go ahead.
If you're a Timberwolves fan, like one who's actually a Timberwolves fan, one that's actually going to listen to this or watch any games, having a season that you're not going to win a lot of games and you might get a high draft pick isn't surprising to you. Like this isn't a new thing that like, oh no, we're going to have to maybe get a high draft pick. Like, yeah. Sorry, guys, it's another year of this, but guess what? You've been through 15 or however long you've been a fan. Like, you can do it,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you, like on social media and stuff, you like you were saying, you see a lot of people freak out like, oh, we're the worst team. Well, yeah, we've been the worst team for a really long time. So, and
I like the way this worst team is looking. I like the way that we've got young talent that is hungry. We're playing hard. We still have stars. I'd rather have this bad team than some of the other bad teams we've had.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. Like, I wonder what our podcast would look like if it was like 2010, right before we got like Kevin Love. And we're talking like, oh, Al Jefferson had 20 tonight or something like that.
Right. That'd be tough. I loved Al Jefferson though.
No, I did too. I feel like someone on that team had to score. So like Al Jefferson by default like scored and stuff like that. But
prime Al Jefferson scores 20 points a game right now, just posting everybody up.
Yeah, I agree.
It fits perfect with the mold that we have right now with a power forward necessity.
That's true. Yeah, I would love Al Jefferson on this team. That would be great. But like we're talking like, oh, who should we start Sebastian Telfair or
right
or something or something like that, or should we move on from Johnny Flynn or something like that? But yeah. So
I'll tell you what, I had some negative. That was some negative times for me. So that would have been I would have been a very negative podcaster.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I can transition us into the next segment.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just there's one thing that I wanted to talk about watching tonight's game. We just don't seem to get calls, whether it's Cat, whether it's Edwards. Like we're in the crunch time of tonight's game, and Cat gets called for a legal screen, and I think his score was 81-81 at the time it got called with like 46 seconds. And there's like, it just seems that like so many times, like we just get in situations where we don't get calls. And I hate to complain about referees and stuff, but like I see Edwards drive to the hole so hard and get smacked, but not get a call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we haven't earned it. We're the worst team in the NBA, and we're the youngest team in the NBA. I wouldn't give us calls either. But what I love is when I was talking about how much I hated Kyle Lowry and Paul Pierce and KG in his older days, Cat started out like that. Cat was one of those guys that was always complaining, like Blake Griffin style, complaining about everything his first couple years. And that's something that has changed in the culture this year. I've noticed huge for the entire team is no one's complaining. I mean, here and there, maybe like one of these crazy like wide eye looks or like a gas face kind of thing, but never arms up in the air, not getting back on D type of complaining. That's the kind of culture stuff that I like to see. And that's maybe that's a testament to Ryan Saunders. I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible. I think it's also the makeup of our team. Like, you've got a lot of players. Like, Malik Beasley wants to be an all-defensive player. He's getting back on defense, playing defense. We have a lot of defensive-minded players like Josh Okogie, and I know Jarrett Culver's not out there, but he's a defensive-minded player, and Jake Layman feels like he has a level head. And but yeah, I definitely see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. By the way, because I was curious, I looked up the 2009 to 2010 Timberwolves. Leading scorer Al Jefferson was 17 a game. So that'll show you where the league has kind of changed.
How many rebounds? Did he have 8 or 9 rebounds? He had to get a bunch of boards.
He averaged 9.3 per game.
Oh, yeah, he was a double-double machine back then.
This is a testament to this podcast of what you guys are listening to are 3 guys that are born and raised in Minnesota that love the Timberwolves, that have sweated it out through some of the toughest years possible. We've been through it.
What I will say is, so these basically what I'm talking about right now are my early high school years, and it was great because tickets were so cheap. So I remember one year they did this promotion called Pay the Pick. We're literally I
got that. I got season tickets that year.
Oh, really? So it was like $3 a ticket. And they like lower level tickets. It was ridiculous.
Mine were upper deck, but still they were nice.
Yeah. I mean, upper deck, other than like the really top, there's really not a bad seat in the Target Center. I think, man, can you believe we're in COVID and talking about going to games? Like, oh, I can't wait. Like the first game they let fans in, like, I don't care. Like, give me the vaccine. Like, and I know that's a different topic, but like I need to go to a game. Like, I need to go to a game pretty quick here. So let's talk about one guy who's really performing for the Timberwolves, and that is Malik Beasley. I feel like right now, his contract, particularly the one that he just signed for the Timberwolves, is looking really good for the future. That we locked him down now at what was it, $65 million or 63?
Yeah, it's like 11 or 12 a year, 13 a year.
12 a year. I mean, think about it. We're paying $5 million less a year than we are for Rubio right now, and this guy's putting up 20 points a game.
Well, he's putting up numbers of guys that are making $25+ million a year. I mean, he's a stud.
He is.
And what's crazy is, he's one of those guys that you want on your team to show the other guys just how to work hard. Like, I know we've got, Cat, they say he works hard, and D'Lo's in the gym, but those are guys you don't see doing it. Like, they might be doing it on their own. Beasley's just grinding, and he gives off that aura that he's a grinder, kind of like how Jimmy Butler does, even if I think Jimmy Butler's, a lot of his stuff is good press and I don't believe it as much, but it still has that vibe, and it gets guys motivated. And he's 24.
Yeah.
He's 24 years old. Like, he's not even close to his prime, and he's already one of the best shooters in the NBA. We just have to learn how to get him the ball. But he's young, but he'll go like this game. He went the whole first quarter. I think he got one shot. He played the whole first quarter. He had one shot, and we couldn't score. We were like 1 of 10 from 3, and Beasley had one shot in the whole first quarter. We've had some fourth quarters like that too, where the first game back with Cat, he just didn't know how to we didn't know how to get the ball to him. But we'll learn. We're young. We'll figure that out.
Right. And so 2 things I want to say about Beasley. One, Timberwolves fans have been saying for years that we've never had a really good 3-point shooter, like maybe back to Fred Hoiberg or something, like all the way back to that. Like we haven't had a good guard that can shoot the ball. I think we finally have a good guard that can shoot the ball, and he's on a good contract. Also, let's see. Oh, I completely forgot my point. Okay, let's go to Jared. Jared, talk a little Malik Beasley for us.
Yeah, so Beasley, I mentioned in a previous podcast, is averaging I think 11 or 12 more points a game than he's averaged in his whole entire career, which was super nice to talk about. The dude can put the ball in the bucket. He plays hard, but also. One thing that I'll spin back to you guys is, I know this has been talks coming up with the All-Star break. Do you think Malik Beasley deserves to be an All-Star? And in my point of view, I think he absolutely does, ahead of some of the other guys that are ahead of him.
All-Star?
You go.
Okay, yeah. All-Star, I don't think yet. I don't think his numbers are quite there. They're good, don't get me wrong. Like, he's having a career year right now. But I don't think compared to some... I don't think... Maybe in the Eastern Conference, but I don't think compared to some of the guards in the Western Conference, he's quite at all-star level yet. Also, I don't think that the team that he's on helps too much. Particularly, yeah. I don't think all-star, but I'll leave it to you, Chris. What do you think?
So, remember what you said about the Indiana Pacers?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, they're good, but man, I don't even know. Like, I've never seen them. That's a Minnesota Timberwolves for everybody in the in the nation. So, they don't know us, and that's going to hurt his votes. But he's not consistent yet. He's so hot and cold still, but I would say not all-star. But when you look at the list of guys and who was voted where, and players' votes were all counted in this time, he should have been much higher up on that list. Like, I don't think all-star, but I could see him being, the second guard that missed it or something like that, or third guard that missed it. Like, he should be in that range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so maybe like an all-star like reserve, like someone gets hurt and then like maybe he fills in for someone. I think in the future, absolutely, for sure. Like for example, like let's say the team all comes back, we get a good draft pick, and everyone plays up to fruition. Beasley scoring 20 points a game, Russell scoring 20 points, and Cat is scoring 20 points, and we're like a 500 team. Then yeah, I could see next year. I just don't think that you can give the second option on a team right now, an all-star nod on a team that's this bad record-wise. That's right. All. Yeah, that's all I'm saying about that. Oh, and the one point I was going to make about Malik Beasley, so many guys, and we've said this in the past, but so many guys on this team are afraid to shoot, or they're very hesitant about shooting. Like they'll do like a pump, like a 3-pointer particularly, they'll do like a pump fake and then stand there and think about it. Malik Beasley is not afraid to shoot. And
even deep in the fourth quarter.
Right. Like
what?
Good or bad, he will light it up and shoot it for hell or high water. He will go after it, and he's not afraid to shoot. What were you saying, Jared?
I was going to say tonight we had 2 wide open air balls. One was by Towns, one was by Rubio. There was a point in the game where I wanted to make a mental note, and I watched Okogie drive into the lane, and I don't remember what happened because I was watching the game and I was like, God, I should make a mental note about that because Okogie looked horrible there, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but it was really bad.
He didn't want the ball. What happened is he got right to where he needed to get, and then he just realized that the last place he wants to be on earth is right there on a basketball court with the ball, having to make a decision at the rim. So he just shut off. And what happened after that was very telling. Something we talked about last episode. We saw Jake Layman come in, and I think on the telecast, Jim Pete, who is great, by the way. I mean, he has his biases, but he's a one of the best there is. Said that he was taking Anthony Edwards' minutes because Anthony Edwards wasn't playing good, but what he was doing was taking Josh Okogie's. and he took the rest of Josh Okogie's minutes for the game, and he looked good. It might be a time where, Josh Okogie might be on real thin ice right now, and Layman might be the next man up.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Layman looked good tonight, and I mean, I would rather have Jake Layman than Josh Okogie, definitely. As much as I like the guy, and it's just, and I remember his draft. I remember when he got drafted, there was this video of him and his parents like freaking out and just like I don't know, but yeah, it's tough to watch Josh Okogie play right now. So go ahead.
This just might be me, but like I don't want to see Josh Okogie get any minutes until it's the end of the game situations. Like I stated before we started this podcast, we are in the last 11 games, they've all been decided by 10 or less. When we need a defense to stop, I want to see Vanderbilt on the floor. I want to see McDaniels on the floor. I want to see Okogie on the floor. Like, those are the guys that I want to see on the floor in certain situational basketball moments. But they're not guys that I want to see on the floor all the time. And I can't say the same for all of them. Like, obviously, I'd like to see a little bit more of McDaniels than Okogie, but like, when we need to stop at the end of the game, those are the three players that I absolutely want on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Like a pinch runner in baseball. That's what I want Okogie to be. When it's like, okay, we need a guy to get from, tag up on this fly ball. We need a guy to just do one hard defensive possession. Let's sub in Okogie. Other than that, get him out of there.
Right. But that's the sad part about it is Okogie came in as a mid first round draft pick, and that's not really what you want your mid first round draft pick to be, right? I mean,
a lot of those guys miss. A lot of those. Mid first round draft picks are tough.
Yeah, that's true.
Crazy thing about Okogie, he shot 38% from three in college on, I think, 3 or 4 attempts a game, I remember. Very strange stat.
Yeah, that is an interesting stat. Yeah, but who knows what's going on at Georgia Tech, though? I mean, they're not necessarily a basketball blue blood, I guess I'll say. Although I will say in college right now, a lot of the blue bloods in college are not looking too good. Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky looks terrible, but that's neither here nor there. So let's talk, since we mentioned it, a little All-Star game. The All-Star starters were announced. So in the West, we have Luka, Steph, LeBron, Jokic, and Kawhi. And then in the East, we have Kyrie, Beal, who you have to put in because he's scoring like 100 points a game, Durant, Antetokounmpo, and Embiid. Do you guys have any issues with who got in with the starters? Or basically, I guess the real question is, should they have put Lillard over Doncic? What do you guys think? What do you think, Chris?
No. I mean, maybe. Like, okay, who cares? They're both amazing players. Social media and everybody wants to make a big deal about everything. Luka was almost the MVP of the league last year, like that type of game. Mm-hmm. All-Star game a lot of times is based off last year's play. Lillard's a stud, but guess what? You're playing in the West with a bunch of studs. That happens. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, sure, maybe, but I could also make an argument equally the other way that no,
Right. The only reason I might say, and like you said, it's not a huge deal because, I mean, the All-Star game, there's no defense and who really cares? But I think it's the honor part of it. The thing is that I will say is Portland, without C.J. McCollum, and it's being led by Dame, has a better record than Dallas. And Portland has been playing really good lately and beating some really good teams. So I guess without McCollum and Nurkic again, like both of them are out. Like Nurkic, that's a huge loss for them. That's why they barely made the playoffs last year. So yeah, I don't know. I could see the argument for Dame, but I think the world is in love with Luka. So, Jared, what's your thoughts on the All-Star starters? Any complaints, or does it look pretty solid?
I'm going to be in the minority on this one, but one of my favorite point guards of all time, and till this day, still rocking it, is Chris Paul. You give Chris Paul that starting lineup, that dude might have 30 assists. Like, he had 19 tonight with the Suns. Chris Paul, you can say what you want, but that dude just knows how to win. I've been a fan of him since he played at Wake Forest. He was one of my favorite players, along with Justin Gray. Let you know how long I'm a basketball fan. Justin Gray is my player name that not many recognize, but was very good in college. But if you give me that lineup and I can put Chris Paul in there to dish it out, give me Chris Paul. But I'll take Luka ahead of Dame as well. Much like Chris said, Luka's a stud, but he's younger than me, which is kind of crazy. Like, I'm starting to look at NBA players like, how old are they? And
I'm the same way.
Kind of old,
right?
But Luka is a stud. Dude does it all. He points, rebounds, assists. He's outside of Porzingis. He's the sole reason why the Mavericks were good last year. Porzingis was obviously a huge ad for them, but I think that Porzingis is still a little bit better than Lillard. Lillard has a clutch factor, which might be kind of important, but in an all-star type game, usually the game is decided before it gets into the final 8 minutes. Like, if you ever watch an all-star game, like nobody plays defense for the first 40 minutes, and then crunch time comes down. It's like, oh my God, everyone flips a switch and knows how to play defense all of a sudden. So it's kind of crazy.
It's not about, they're not trying to win. They're just saying who deserved it.
Right.
Right. For sure. One
thing I want to talk about, which would be kind of NBA All-Star related, was how about that dunk?
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards' dunk tonight, that was maybe the best dunk in game I've seen. It could definitely get arguments for best in-game dunk, I don't know, the last 20 years, 15 years, I don't know. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. It was an amazing dunk. And you see, that's what's so fun about watching Anthony Edwards, because it feels like he's moments away every single game from like 2 or 3 of those moments. Like, he's trying to get poster dunks on people, and it's really fun to watch.
And what I love is he missed some. So to have the confidence to go right back to it after you've missed them shows me a lot about that kid. Like, he's putting the NBA on notice, and he's making mistakes doing it. And he knows that, and then he comes back and tries it again because he's determined to put the NBA on notice, and I love it. That was an amazing dunk, dude. Blew my mind.
Yeah, I think the only thing that would have made it better if it was like on Jokic or something, like on like a top player. But you like you said, that was an amazing dunk, and
I think that guy is 6'8".
Right.
Or something like that. 6'8", 6'10", the guy he dunked on. Of course, he didn't dunk on, Gobert or anything, but geez.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I'll say about Edwards is that, at the last, we were talking about the Indiana game earlier, and when he missed, he was so, like, you could tell on his face that he was disappointed that it didn't drop. But at the end of the day, he still kind of like laughed about it and being like, oh my God, I can't believe that didn't go in. And I feel like when I watch Edwards, like when he flips a switch and starts to get like pissed off about stuff like that, that dude is going to be so damn good. It's unbelievable. And it's nothing to take away from him and his free-flowing personality, but like, he's a good basketball player. He's getting to that point where, like, if he wants to flip a switch and be dominant, he can be dominant.
And what better time, like Chris, like you were saying, what better time for him to go for like tomahawk jams and miss it than right now when we're 7-23? Like it doesn't really matter right now. And why not try to? Because here's the thing to put like you were mentioning, Chris, like for when we were talking about the All-Star, like that people don't even know about the Wolves because they haven't been watching them. What better way to get more national eyes on the Timberwolves than having SportsCenter Top 10, the number one play being Anthony Edwards posterizing that guy? I'll bet you. Yeah, go ahead.
The second half schedule isn't out. We had, I think, one or two nationally televised games. With Anthony Edwards putting up numbers like this, we might sneak another one or two in there, like on an off night.
Something.
He can do it. He can be that wow factor. He can be that box office. And again, to age myself, he's got a lot of Kirby Puckett to him. He's got that flair that everybody wants to love, that smile, that kid having a fun time, but also like a killer. He's got a lot of crowd appeal, man. He's gonna be fun to watch.
Also, and like we've seen, like in games, like for example, like that LA game, you could tell that he wanted to put on a show against LeBron. So he goes out and has 28 points. Now we might need to fine tune it and be like, hey, we need you to show out every single night. But we've seen, like against Wiseman, he tried to posterize Wiseman too. When the spotlight is on, he really tries to pop into the spotlight and do something amazing.
And I think one of the things about Edwards, like coming into the draft, was he's like, oh, I think there was a quote, something like, I'm not really sure if I even want to play basketball or if I even like basketball, and like. He's on the stage now, and he's like, yeah, hey, I kind of like this, like, like he wants to play and he wants to be good, and he is good. And I think he's only going to excel in the coming years. I think we found a diamond in the rough. Like, as much as people want to talk about how good LaMelo's been, and LaMelo's been great, but I think absolutely Anthony Edwards has been the top pick. Some of the stuff that I've seen in the past 2 or 3 weeks, like just his willingness to get to the rim, especially on a team like this that loves to shoot threes, that is absolutely what you want to see in a guy like Anthony Edwards, a young guy that just gets the ball in space and goes to the hole. Yep. And I think that's the big thing looking forward for us.
Yeah, and the one thing I see out of Anthony Edwards is he doesn't need like a screen or like an elaborate play to get to the basket. He'll just go off the dribble and just create his own. Now, there's definitely ways that you can get him open and different play calls and stuff like that. But he's a guy that when you need him to get to the basket, he could get to the basket and either lay it up, and he needs to learn how to finish. But he can put down a ferocious dunk, or it's honestly fun every time he goes down the lane because you're thinking, what can happen? Like, what can this guy do? And I think it's the most excited about a rookie that I've been in a long time because, I mean, yeah, Culver had some good dunks, but you never felt like, hey, this guy's going to be great or this guy has unlimited potential. So
I'm going to want you never to compare Anthony Edwards to Culver again on the podcast. I'm just putting that out there.
No, I'm going to try not to. I'm going to write that down.
Thank you. So, yeah, Anthony Edwards, you'll watch him. And whenever Cat comes to set a pick, when it's kind of in like free flow defense or free flow offense, he's always mad. He doesn't want it because his stats when he's using a pick and roll are way worse than just ISO. Like at right now he's at his best isolation. Like clear the floor and let him go. But that's also why I loved a couple games ago when we had him run the entire offense and he ran pick and roll after pick and roll after pick and roll with Cat, because just like we did with just like Daddy Flip did with Zach LaVine when they gave him the keys as a point guard when he wasn't good enough, but we were teaching him those skills. And now you can be that, ball handling wing that's so valuable in the NBA. But if he can get that pick and roll down and that ISO down, I mean, geez, this kid has got it all.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and yeah, it's going to be fun going forward. Just watching this kid develop, and I think this is going too far. But I've seen people online saying, "Screw Towns, let's just build around him." which I think that's a little premature, to be honest with you, when you have some like Towns just give up on Towns. But
well, what's beautiful is we can do it both.
That's true.
How about we just do that?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. So let's go into kind of the fantasy minute. Jared, what do you got for us for this week fantasy wise? What should people be looking out for?
Yeah, so one of the players that I'm looking to add, he's probably available in quite a bit of leagues, especially like dynasty and deep leagues, is Saddiq Bey. I talked about him on a previous podcast, but we've already realized that Blake Griffin isn't going to play until he's traded. That's pretty much a done deal. He's going to get traded. So a guy like Saddiq Bey or even Svi Mykhailiuk, I took a long time to master that pronunciation, but it's Svi Mykhailiuk. He's a guy that's going to be seeing minutes. If you look at a team like Detroit that is lacking in certain situations, you get a guy like Griffin who soaks up a lot of usage when he's on the court, but he's not going to be there until at least 2 or 3 weeks from now on a different team. You can look at some of those guys on Detroit. You can look at guys like Cedi Osman, who's probably not available in most of your leagues, but Drummond's getting traded soon. You can look at teams like the Nets to add him. So if you're a Drummond guy, just hang on and see where he goes to. I talked about Hassan Whiteside multiple times in previous podcasts, but if he's still available, go grab him because he's going to get traded as well. And I think relatively soon. Other guys that I'm looking at right now, you could look at a guy like Michael Carter-Williams, who is going to be the starting point guard for the Orlando Magic for the next coming weeks until Cole Anthony is back. He's not exciting. I'm not a big Michael Carter-Williams guy, but he gets minutes. He's going to get points. He's going to get production. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot this week, but just look at teams and what they're doing and what pieces might be moving in the next coming weeks. The Bulls have some injuries as well, so you could look at them. But other than that, not a whole lot different from last week. My main guy is still Hassan Whiteside across the board. If he's in any of your leagues, go grab him now. He's going to get traded to a potential contender like the Nets. I'm almost positive he's going to go to the Nets, but if he doesn't, he's going to be in another contending spot. So go add Hassan Whiteside.
Well, there you go. I like that a lot. So let's move forward to the week ahead. So we got the Knicks, we got the Bucks, and then we got the Bulls, and then we have a little bit of a break. So we're gonna do it again. What game are you looking forward to the most? Honestly, and I'll start. I am looking really forward to this Knicks game, because it's the return of Thibodeau, and I want to see how good Julius Randle is, because there's been a huge buzz around him around the league about him turning around his game and just playing really well. So I want to see how good Julius Randle is, and also it's the return of Thibodeau, and he's got the Knicks playing well. When was the last time we said that? The Knicks are actually a decent team right now. So yeah, I'm excited for the Knicks game. I mean, they're the 7th seed in the East right now. I know the East is nothing like the West, but that's my pick. Chris, what game are you looking forward to the most this week?
I mean, I gotta say the Bulls. I mean, it's hard to not. I'm a big LaVine.
We're gonna fight over that one regardless. You knew right away.
But I mean, so that's kind of a gimme. But it'll be fun to watch the Knicks, because two scrappy teams. Right now, we're playing scrappy, or at least that seems like the vibe we want to give off. So I'm sure that we're going to be digging in deep and being scrappy that game too. It's going to be fun to watch. I think Cat and Randall played together, right? Or were they 1 year apart in Kentucky? I think they might have played together. I don't know, but Randall, I mean, he basically just gets the ball every single time. They just run everything through him. So it'll be fun to watch. Maybe Vanderbilt will be on him. I mean, we've got the guys to defend him right now. It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. And Jared, is it the Bulls or what you got?
I'll take the cop-out. I'll take the Bucks just because you guys took the other two games, which were cop-outs. But I think looking at the Bucks, like let's evaluate the situation here. The Bucks aren't that good this year. They really aren't. Like I think last time I looked, they were barely above 500. They won tonight against the Thunder. But my question is, who do we put on Giannis? And is it Okogie? And does Okogie see extended run to try and defend? He, in my opinion, he's not big enough to defend him. I think you kind of have to try and put Cat on him, in my opinion. But, I mean, that sounds like a disaster in itself as well. So, I mean, how we match up with the Bucks is horrible, to be honest, on the surface. But I think my biggest question is to look at that game and say, who in the hell on our team tries to defend Giannis?
I'll take that. I think we're going to stuff him. I think Vanderbilt and McDaniels are almost perfect matches for him, because what he likes to do is take a bigger guy out up top and then dribble past him, and use his body to push past him. McDaniels will move his feet with him, at least make it difficult. So will Vanderbilt. I think that we're going to give him a lot of trouble, just like we give Pascal Siakam trouble, who tries to do that same, be a big guy who can get downhill. I think we're going to match up all right, and then let Cat kind of just float around the perimeter on Lopez and save his energy.
Mm-hmm. Here's my question, and I looked up. Julius Randle and Cat did not play together, but
1 year apart.
1 or 2. Yeah, I think 1 year apart. My question is, and I'm looking at the roster, how did the 2014 to 2015 Kentucky Wildcats not win the championship when you have Willie Cauley-Stein, Trey Lyles, Tyler Ulis, and Karl Anthony Towns and Devin Booker? How did that not happen?
Question.
I bet you they had a lot of fun on campus.
Oh, yeah.
Because Coach Calipari is an elite recruiter. He can recruit anybody in the nation. I'd say he's a subpar coach, in my opinion.
Really?
I don't think he wants. I think what he wants to do is get, like you said, a recruiter. But the way to be a great recruiter is to get draft picks. Like that season when Cat was there, Cat didn't shoot any threes. It's not because he didn't know he could shoot threes. Obviously, he's in practice. He wanted Cat to learn low post offense because he didn't have that. So he made him a better player. I think he's concerned about making the best NBA players and then using that as recruiting tools going forward. I mean, who that wants to be a top draft pick doesn't want to go to Kentucky?
That's true. Well, except for Cade Cunningham, who and Jalen Suggs,
right.
Apparently they didn't want to go. But yeah, I'm looking at this team and I don't understand. I mean, to be fair, this team went 38-1,
right.
But they just lost to Wisconsin and Frank Kaminsky of all players in the championship. Well, we've got about an hour, guys. So I think we're going to wrap it up. As Chris, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us again.
I want to leave with one hot take. I'd like to leave with something.
Go ahead.
My guy Naz Reid, I said a couple of weeks ago that I thought that he was going to make Wiseman have a really tough time in those two games. I'm going to say Naz Reid is going to be better than Wiseman as a career player.
Wow.
I will also say Naz Reid is probably top 5 in the NBA as a roll man. His hands and his finishing with little floaters and around the rim with little scoop shot layups is elite, like NBA elite. I think he's going to be one of the best contracts in the NBA if he isn't already.
Awesome. Well, I hope you're right. And Jared, thanks for joining us as always.
Absolutely. I love our Friday night hangouts. It's kind of a staple in my week because it's one of the nights that I don't have to work immediately following. So it's always fun to hang out with you guys and just chop up basketball for a little bit. But
Absolutely.
my takeaway is, I said it early in the podcast, but just in case people skipped over and moved time, the Timberwolves in the last 11 games have all been decided by 10 points or less. Keep an eye on the coaching, pay attention to what's happening, see what you like, see what you don't like, and make your own adjustments and say, what could we have done differently here, and watch the game in kind of a different point of eyes, and just kind of see we're right there. So why can't we start winning these games?
Absolutely. And so my big takeaway is, looking at the schedule, I think we're going to win 2 out of 3 of these games. Like I think we're going to beat the Knicks, and I think we're going to beat the Bulls, but maybe Julius Randle and Zach LaVine will have something to say about that. Well, this has been another Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and follow on Spotify. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and follow on Spotify. And as always, go Wolves.